Timmy Joe, I can see it in your eyes. You need a cheap Android phone because you smashed yours and you have a year in your contract. Hi there, it's Timmy Joe. What's up? You looking for cheap cell phones on Amazon? Well, you've come to the right spot. Never heard of this company until I was looking up cheap Android phones on Amazon the other day. It's like $100, 5.5 inches. How terrible could it be? Well, I'm here to answer that question for you. I mean, you know, if you're an Android guy, a smartphone guy, you probably, you know, have the foresight to think that this isn't some flagship or anything like that. But maybe you dropped your phone. Maybe you're looking for a phone for your wife after she dropped hers. Maybe you need a phone for a kid. Maybe grandma needs a phone. Maybe this is a good option. You don't have to get into a contract. You know, it pretty much works with any network, as far as I can tell, which is pretty cool, at least here in the United States or in Canada. And out of the box, there's 2 SIM card slots and some pretty awesome features. So let's just dive right into it. So Kata C2, there are other versions of the Kata phones that have a lot higher specs, but for this being 100 Canadian dollars, $84.95 American. You know what? It's a pretty good option. I think I'm kind of blown away by that price, considering I've been using it for the last 2 days as my main phone, and it's not terrible at all. It's really not that bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. So let's dive right into a few things. So Kata C2, you know, you're gonna buy this and it's inexpensive enough that maybe you're gonna buy it because you smashed your phone and you're sent your phone away to get the screen replaced. It's gonna take a month or 3 weeks and you're not sure. A little backup phone here, like I said, give it to kids or something like that. At that price point, it's a pretty good option for stuff like that, and it's completely usable. The specs are as follows. It has a MT6580A 1.3 gigahertz quad-core processor, 4 cores. I assume that's a MediaTek processor. These things are getting pretty decent even in the low range these days, and has 1 gig of RAM. I found the Android 6 Marshmallow on this experience not terrible, but you know, I don't have this thing loaded up with apps. I used it as my phone, but I only put a few of, you know, the regular things I do on it. I didn't load every single thing I do on my Samsung device, like my email accounts and stuff like that, because I just didn't want to. This isn't my phone. I'm not keeping it, so I didn't want to get that far into it. But I actually used it. Like, I made phone calls on it. I did check emails and stuff like that. I did, you know, browse YouTube and go on my pages, and it wasn't that bad, and it didn't seem like really slow. But we'll get to some of that stuff in a second. It has a 2600 milliamp hour battery, and with the low specs on it, it actually seemed to last all day, so there's no problems there. It works on the CDMA band, CDMA band of 850, 1900, and 2100 at the 3G speeds, and GSM 850, 900, 1800, and 1900. So you'll probably be able to use this phone on any network, but it's not going to be very fast. But is 3G on this phone actually that terrible? Well, for web browsing and stuff, I didn't find it was all that bad. You know, they make like LTE Plus these days, and a lot of phones can use that, and it's like you have faster internet on your phone than you do at home, like plugged into your Wi-Fi, you know. So it's like we're kind of spoiled. But I didn't notice that streaming services or web browsing was really that affected by 3G. So you'll be happy to know that. You can still watch a YouTube video at 720p HD, and it seemed to work fine to me. You can still stream Sirius radio on it, and you could still web browse. And the web browser was a little clunky, but I wasn't sure if that was the processor or, you know, the low 3G speeds. You know, it was kind of, you know, a toss-up. So battery life's not bad. Operating system, not bad. I mean, it'll run, you know, Asphalt or whatever on it, but it's not going to be fast to do modern games with this type of processor on it. And 1 gig of RAM is on the cusp. Now, it does have 8 gigs of ROM, but like 3 of those are taken up by the operating system, so you don't have much room to play with, but it does have a micro SD card slot, so fire one of those in there. You'll have lots of room for your 13 megapixel photos. That's right, it has a 13 megapixel sensor on the back, 5 on the front. And you might say, hey, cool, Timmy Joe, does that have a fingerprint sensor? No. Maybe another model with the same chassis does, but that's just a button that increases your notification volume for no reason whatsoever. On one side here, it has the power button below the volume rockers, which is kind of annoying because I kept hitting it instead of the volume rockers. The other side has nothing. The back comes off like a lot of older Samsung phones did. In the back, there's a removable battery, a SIM card tray that also doubles as an SD card slot, and a SIM card slot. It has LED flash on the back of it. There we go. Clips all on, and it has some little light on the front of it too, which is interesting. Now, you want to talk call quality, because that's very important. Not great. You know what? We are, like with Samsung phones and stuff like that, very spoiled, and like a lot of the phones have gotten really good these days. So to step back to something like this, I was on the phone with a tech support agent at Microsoft trying to get Windows activated on this machine, and I ended up hanging up on her because she was in a call center, wasn't talking loud enough. I was trying to give her phonetic license key over the phone, and she wasn't hearing me, and I just was like frustrated. I'll just call when I have my other phone back. So you might run into a problem there, but you could also fire some, earbuds in it, and it actually had pretty decent headphone volume and stuff like that. The speaker on it's very tinny. Didn't sound very good, but it does get pretty loud. So I know I'm all over the place on this, but in the box, there's like nothing worth talking about, so we'll just get that out of the way. There is a manual, a USB cord, no wall wart, and this little thing covered the screen that says it has a wonderful, outstanding camera, which I thought was kind of funny. Their icon is a little fish, and it comes with a fish background and a skin version of Android with all the icons on the screen. I just put the Google launcher on it, and it seemed to work much better that way. So all in all, mediocre experience, but for $100, what do you expect? It's actually like really on par, I'd say, with an Android phone from about 5 years ago, like a top of the line like HTC or something like that, which is saying something because we have come very, very far. But, for $100, you can get an Android phone that was like a flagship. Like, if this came out 5 years ago, people would have been like, wow, this looks awesome. The bezels are small. Has a fairly decent screen on it. It doesn't get too bright. You can see it in the outside sun, daylight, or whatever, but it's kind of hard. It's kind of inset a little bit too, which looks weird to me compared to my Samsung's amazing display. All in all, I'd give it a very positive score considering the price. Last thing we're going to talk about today is the camera on it, because that is so important these days. And both of them, they're potatoes. They are very indicative of where smartphone cameras were about 5 years ago. But here, check it out for yourself. Here's the front-facing camera, me and my pug, and here's a quick video.
This is a test of the forward-facing camera that appears to be in something like 640 by 480 or 800 by 600 resolution. Very, very laggy. I got a tomato from the garden.
You'll see that it's in a 4x4, 4x3 aspect ratio that just looks terrible. So I would say nay on the front-facing camera. Might get away with the occasional selfies and some really good light. Rear-facing camera, a little bit of a different story. 720p video, sort of passable. Here's some video.
The rear camera on the Kata C2. You want this tomato, Puggy? That I picked from the garden? Are you looking at it?
Alright, and here's some pictures. I got HDR on some of them, and I have it off on some other ones. Can you tell the difference? No, you can't. So, passable rear camera for like a non-experienced smartphone user, but by no means anything special. But all in all, what can you expect for $100 reduced. I mean, it's not bad at all. So I have these linked in the description below for both Canadian and American Amazon affiliate links. If you're in the market for this phone, maybe you were looking for a review on the internet, you could do me a favor by checking it out in the link below for some information or the pricing, or even to buy it, because that helps me out. And I'll give this a full recommendation, as long as you can understand that you can only get so much for $100, and you get every single bit of it in this phone. Everything that you could expect for $100 is in there, and it is a usable daily driver phone if you're not some sort of Android power user. It's not bad at all. Like I say, it's indicative of like a flagship phone, but from about 5 years ago. Think of picking up like a Galaxy Note 1, and it would look pretty terrible these days. Well, that's pretty much where this is at. So I'm at WatchTimmyJoe on Instagram and Twitter. Hope you like me psychobabbling about a weird fish phone on Amazon. But if you're in the market for a very inexpensive Android phone for any number of the reasons I mentioned in this video, I'd be happy if you checked it out in the links below. And I will see you guys in the next video.